it helped you in any way since you've been vegan?
Yeah, I think that I realized I was able to make significant changes in my life. And after I went vegan, I was able to quit drinking alcohol, which was a huge thing for me. I think that before I went vegan, I just thought that I couldn't actually make any positive changes in my life. And I think it was easy for me to go vegan because ultimately it was something I felt passionate about, not for myself, but for others. So I had to find some way to translate that to alcoholism. Because, I mean, I don't think I would have quit drinking if I just wanted to do it for myself. I think that I needed the example of going vegan for the animals and becoming an activist for the animals to ultimately quit drinking. I was in a pretty long committed relationship with somebody who was vegetarian, and I think that sort of was the first exposure I ever had to the concept of like animal sentience. And I think that I probably wouldn't have gone vegan eventually years later had I not been in that relationship with that person. But it wasn't really until I started caring for a carnivorous animal that I started feeling like immediately responsible for a lot of cruelty towards animals. So there was this ball python that a coworker of mine was really excited to show me, and then when I went to go see him, she had just been keeping him like in a Tupperware container with no heater and no water for a really long time, and he hadn't eaten in like 8 months. So I just kind of told her like, hey, I'm gonna take this animal away from you because that's really messed up. And you know, I got him a really nice enclosure, really nice, you know, heaters, and but it was pretty soon afterwards that I realized that I had a really difficult time being responsible for the deaths of mice, because unfortunately there's really no way for humans to take care of the reptiles we breed without also killing mammals. So it really started to impact me in a really deep way. And then I sort of realized that if I'm feeling guilty about feeding a ball python a mouse, I should feel guilty about eating a burger from In-N-Out or something like that, you know. So it was sort of that realization, as well as a vegan friend of mine, that sort of made me eventually just sort of transition away from like a flexitarian diet, which I tried to follow for about a year, and then I went vegetarian, and like a week later I went vegan, and haven't really looked back since. It's been pretty easy. I feel like probably a bit of a hypocrite because to this day I'm still responsible for the pain, suffering, and death of mice, and I don't really know what the answer is, because it isn't the ball python. His name is Walter. I don't really I don't think that we can blame Walter for being a ball python that was forcibly bred into captivity, because it would be a death sentence to release him into the wild here. It would be a death sentence for me to bring him to his natural environment and try to release him. And I guess I'm just not willing to justify torturing him or abusing him for the sake of 100 or 200 mice. I don't think that we can give a value to a life like that. It's a very difficult question, and I don't really know what the answer is yet. Like I said, I had a friend, a coworker, that was vegan. He was actually a part of the DXE community for a while. And I found myself just agreeing with everything he was saying, you know? I was like, all right, well, I don't really know what made me finally decide to make a change in my diet. But I think that for years, even when I was still eating meat, cheese, milk, and eggs, I still ethically agreed with vegans and animal rights activists.
Has it helped you in any way since you've been vegan?
Yeah, I think that I realized I was able to make significant changes in my life. And after I went vegan, I was able to quit drinking alcohol, which was a huge thing for me. I think that before I went vegan, I just thought that I couldn't actually make any positive changes in my life. And I think it was easy for me to go vegan because ultimately it was something I felt passionate about, not for myself, but for others. So I had to find some way to translate that to alcoholism. Because, I mean, I don't think I would have quit drinking if I just wanted to do it for myself. I think that I needed the example of going vegan for the animals and becoming an activist for the animals to ultimately quit drinking. It's going on like a little over a year and a half sober. So
Awesome. Congratulations.
yeah, thank you.
Amazing.
Yeah, I've been drinking since I was like 13. So
Yeah, it's not. Oof, that's not a, that's a hard thing.
I think people need to actually witness animal cruelty firsthand. Whether that's going to a farm and bearing witness, or at least in my case, being directly responsible for the pain and suffering of non-humans. I think that people really need to not be able to look away, because I think that 99.9% of humanity already agrees with us. I just think that everything is set up in such a way that people can look away. It's really easy to ignore the violence and the pain and the suffering. So I think there needs to be some way for people to actually witness firsthand what's going on. And because I think 99.9% of people are not okay with what happens to non-humans on this planet, it's really fairly easy to go vegan, you know? Like I had like some tofu scrambled for breakfast. You know, you can have a chili cheese dog, you can have ice cream, chocolate, Doritos. I mean, you don't have to sacrifice anything to go vegan. I don't have a kitchen, and I'm too poor to eat out, but I'm still able to, you know, cook vegan meals every day. So, I mean, it's really not difficult. I think that people think that it is difficult to go vegan. But with that being said, I don't think that veganism is necessarily the most important thing. I'd rather work with somebody who's willing to like come out with us and speak out in a protest, or willing to come out with us to a farm, who still eats meat, cheese, milk, and eggs, more so than someone that's just sitting at home eating vegan cupcakes, thinking they're like saving the world. You know?